There is a silent, almost imperceptible moment when someone's mind stops being ordinary and becomes dangerous. Not because it screams, but because it sees. Not because it reacts, but because it chooses. When you think with depth while everyone else is still distracted, you are no longer just living. You are mastering the field. You made a choice that few have the courage to make, to stop following the automatic flow of reactions. You decided to observe the chaos without getting lost in it. And that, for many, is intolerable. They don't fear noise. They fear calm, sharp, intentional thought, the kind that breaks through the emotional control system they're trapped in. It's in this subtle turning point that true power is born. When your words begin to carry weight even before they're spoken. When your pauses become more threatening than a shout. When your energy, simply by existing, forces others to realign themselves. Your mind has stopped merely thinking. Now it shapes. This video is both a reminder and a manual for those who have already awakened. Not for those still seeking approval, but for those who have chosen to be the exception. If you feel this pulsing within you, you're in the right place. Take a moment to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, you won't be fed with noise. Here, you will train the mind that no one will ever be able to control. When you stop reacting to the world and start observing, everything changes. It's as if, suddenly, the sounds that used to disturb you go silent. What once drove you mad now seems small, and what once seemed to dominate you reveals that it always depended on your reaction to exist. That is the true turning point. The world around you has been conditioned to control you through impulses, triggers, provocation, emotional urgency. When you respond, they win. But when you pause, analyze, and choose not to react, you break the pattern. You stop being predictable. And at that moment, your mind becomes sovereign territory, a space no one else can invade without permission. Most people aren't used to that. They expect you to raise your voice, to explain yourself, to shout back. When that doesn't happen, they get lost. Your silence becomes a mirror. Your calm becomes a barrier. Your restraint, a threat. Not because you are aggressive, but because your lack of reaction dismantles the entire game. You become the fixed point in a world spinning out of control. And that, in itself, is revolutionary. When your peace becomes a strategy, everything around you has to reposition itself. Relationships change. Dynamics change. Intentions reveal themselves. And what once seemed normal now shows itself as manipulation, disguised as conversation. This change doesn't happen overnight. It requires training. It requires emotional discipline. It requires knowing yourself well enough not to become a prisoner of your own emotions. But once you experience this kind of internal control, there's no turning back. You feel true power. It's silent, steady, and stable. That's the moment when your mind becomes a weapon, not in the sense of attacking, but of protecting. You become impenetrable to those who try to access your emotional field without merit. You become lucid enough to see when someone tries to provoke you just to later call you exaggerated. You see the game, and you choose not to play. And that takes their control away. People who depend on your reaction to keep their own ego functioning start to destabilize. They try to create confusion. They try to force you to break your composure. But you already understand. None of that has to do with you. It has to do with their emotional emptiness. You are no longer available for those cycles. And that is freedom. Freedom to be, to think, to feel, without asking for permission. Freedom to step out of defense mode and move at your own rhythm. From then on, you become a reference, no longer a target. The world perceives you as different, but can't define why. And it doesn't need to define it, because you're no longer trying to explain yourself. You're too busy building the most aligned version of yourself. A version that doesn't trade peace for approval, that doesn't bow to noise, that thinks strategically, acts with purpose, and moves with intention. This is the first real weapon: internal control. The ability not to react when the world expects you to explode. The strength to restrain yourself, to preserve what matters. The power to let go of what once held you. This is the first step of the mind of the chosen ones, and you've just activated it. After you master the art of not reacting, comes the second stage. You begin to see beyond. People's intentions reveal themselves more clearly. What once seemed like a simple comment, you now see as manipulation. What once sounded like a joke, now feels like an emotional test. Your perception sharpens. This happens because your mind is no longer overloaded with emotional noise. When you get out of autopilot, there's space left to observe. And observation is one of the most powerful tools you can develop. Observing allows you to understand patterns, anticipate behavior, and choose who is truly worth your energy. At this stage, you start to stand out. People around you notice something different, but can't explain it. They realize you no longer react the same way. That you think before you respond. That you distance yourself without drama. That you withdraw without explanation. It's as if you've stepped out of the cycle that traps most people. And in fact you have. You stopped operating based on impulses. You started operating based on strategy. And that makes you unpredictable. And those who are unpredictable are powerful, because no one can control what they don't understand. No one can manipulate someone who observes instead of absorbing. No one can imprison someone who has already learned to free themselves from within. Now your mind works like a radar. You detect falseness in body language. You sense the tension in unspoken words. You see repetitive patterns in different situations. Not out of paranoia, but out of lucidity. You trained your mind not to fall into the same traps. You reprogrammed your system. This new way of thinking shows up in your choices. You start to select your conversations more carefully. You limit access to your energy. You filter your responses. You think long-term. And that unsettles those who expected you to keep reacting the same way. Because now you've become the kind of person who doesn't need to say much to make an impact. Your absence speaks. Your distance communicates. Your composure says more than any argument could. You no longer need to raise your voice. Your posture already carries the message. And what's most interesting, you don't do it to impress. You do it because you've become who you needed to be. You act based on purpose, not provocation. This change distances you from many people, but it also draws you closer to those who think differently, to those who understand that the mind is the true key, to those who have chosen to grow inwardly before trying to conquer outwardly. You're building a mental structure no one can take from you. That is invincible. That is the mindset of the chosen. And this is the second weapon, discernment. The ability to see beyond words, to see beyond behavior, to feel the vibration behind presence. With discernment, you don't protect yourself only with strength. You protect yourself with vision. And vision is what separates those who merely survive from those who truly master. There comes a point when you understand the true value of your energy. Not as a nice concept, but as a vital boundary. You realize that every conversation, every explanation, every attempt to prove something to someone consumes a piece of your focus. And focus is not infinite. Wasted energy is interrupted growth. You spent too much time trying to be understood, trying to justify feelings, trying to prove good intentions. But now you've understood. Those who truly understand you don't need proof, and those who constantly demand proof will never understand, because they're not interested in clarity, they're interested in control. This shift changes everything. You start saying no more easily. You start disappearing from places you used to go out of habit. You start distancing yourself from conversations that seem normal, but quietly drain your sanity. You stop being available to everyone. And that is evolution. Some will say you become cold. Others will say you've pulled away. But the truth is, you simply got tired of giving energy to those who only knew how to drain it. Your silence became a boundary, and the boundary became armor. Now you choose where to place yourself. You choose who deserves to know what you think. You choose what's worth your time. And do you know what happens when you do that? You start growing without distraction. You start diving deeper into what really matters. You start seeing your mind expand because it's no longer busy trying to please or defend itself from attacks disguised as opinions. You breathe differently, think differently, walk differently. Your energy is no longer a free resource. It's an investment, and like any investment, it requires a return. You no longer enter endless conversations without purpose. You no longer respond to provocations, not because you're avoiding, but because you no longer see meaning in fighting where the goal was never understanding. This kind of clarity bothers people, especially those who only manage to stay connected to you through confusion. They try to pull you back into your old version, the one that over-explained, that felt guilty for everything, that said yes just to keep the peace. But that version no longer exists. Now you've become valuable, not out of arrogance, but out of purpose, not out of ego, but out of priority. Your energy is filtered, intentional, focused, and anyone who wants access will have to come with truth, with reciprocity, and with awareness. You no longer give attention to those who only come to you to soothe their own insecurity. You've learned that being at peace is worth more than being right, that preserving your silence is worth more than winning an argument, that keeping your mind clean is worth more than being everywhere. You've understood that solitude is often protection, and that retreat is preparation. This is your third weapon, the energy filter. When you learn to protect your peace, you start operating on another level. You don't get stressed over just anything. You don't engage with just anyone. You don't get contaminated by just any drama, because you already know your focus is far too precious to be wasted on distractions. You know you've become dangerous when your calm starts to make others uncomfortable. It's not because you want to intimidate. It's because your lack of reaction exposes their lack of control. They expected shouting, emotional responses. They expected you to break down. But you didn't fall. You remained. Most people feed off chaos. They don't know how to deal with someone who doesn't get lost in it. When you stay centered, you take away the stage. You take away the show. You take away the audience. You make the game look ridiculous. And that's unbearable for those who only know how to play emotionally. Your calm becomes a mirror. It shows, without saying a word, where other people's excesses are, where the instability is, where the fragility lies. And by showing that, you make it clear you are no longer emotionally accessible. It's not about coldness. It's about self-control. A mind that has learned to breathe deeply instead of explode. They can't handle that because they were used to your old version. The one that responded quickly, that got hurt easily, that reacted on impulse. Now everything has changed. You think, you weigh, you choose, and that choice breaks expectations. It unsettles, it irritates, and it reveals how much your silence has become a threat. But see, that threat isn't aggressive. It's strategic. You don't want to defeat anyone. You just want to maintain your integrity. You just want to protect your clarity. You just want to move with truth. And those who don't live with that don't understand. They mistake calm for indifference. They mistake silence for weakness. But you know, that's where your greatest power lives. Your calm is your shield. It keeps you from being pulled into chaos. It keeps you from being controlled through emotion. It keeps you from being manipulated by fear. You no longer respond to pleas. You only respond when it's worth it. And that choice makes you selective, solid, and lethal. Your presence starts to change the environment. People lower their voices around you. They explain themselves more. They measure their words. They feel something different. Even if they don't know what it is, it's your calm. It disarms, destabilizes, and redefines the space. And the most impressive part, you don't even have to try. You simply are. That kind of energy can't be faked. It comes from someone who's been through a lot and chose not to lose themselves. It comes from someone who was disrespected, doubted, underestimated, and still chose to remain firm. It comes from someone who stopped trying to prove themselves, from someone who understood that true strength doesn't scream. It remains. And here is your fourth weapon, strategic calm. A silence that disturbs because it speaks volumes. A serenity that pressures because it shows control. A composure that cannot be provoked because it's protected by intention. You are not harmless. You are dangerous. But only to those who tried to use your emotions against you. Explaining is exhausting. Justifying is draining. You realize this when you once again try to make yourself understood by someone who has already decided not to listen. And that's where everything changes. You stop. You close the door of explanation and open the one of silence. Not out of contempt, but out of wisdom. You understand. Those who want to understand will hear even what is not said. The need for excessive explanation is born from insecurity, yours or the other person's. But over time you learn that the more you try to explain yourself, the more vulnerable you become. Because manipulative people don't want truth. They want openings. They want to push you to open up just to use it later, as ammunition. When you stop explaining yourself, you break the power cycle that was being fed by your words. You give responsibility back. If someone truly wants to know you, let them observe, stay, and show intention. You no longer hand over your inner world to those content with a shallow understanding of you. This silence is powerful. It filters, it selects, it protects. People who truly deserve to know more about you don't need to be convinced through speeches. They feel, they respect. They don't demand confessions as a way to measure connection. They know how to read your presence. Everyone else, you leave talking to themselves. You no longer need to explain yourself to maintain friendships, nor to preserve relationships, nor to justify your choices. Your life is yours. Your decisions are the result of a process no one witnessed. No one felt your pain. No one faced your dilemmas. So no one has the right to demand an instruction manual for how to deal with you. When you stay silent, you observe more clearly. When you speak less, you truly hear what's behind others' words. You start noticing inconsistencies, hidden intentions, subtle manipulations. Silence becomes your sharpest lens and your most effective strategy. It's not arrogance, it's preservation. You no longer have the time or energy for conversations that change nothing. You no longer enter circular debates. You no longer engage in discussions that only feed the ego of those not interested in growing. You only speak where there's space for real listening. And the more you stay silent, the stronger your presence becomes. People start noticing that you don't speak in vain, that your words have weight, that when you choose to speak, it's because it truly matters. And that changes everything. Because in today's world, where everyone talks without thinking, being selective is a superpower. This is your fifth weapon, the strategic absence of explanations. Your truth no longer needs a stage, it needs peace. Your value isn't in defense, it's in direction. And the direction you follow now is one of conscious silence, emotional clarity, and preserved energy. Before, you were an open book. Everyone knew what to expect from you. Your limits, your pain, your reactions. They knew how to provoke you and how far they could go. But something changed. You closed yourself off. You reorganized internally. And now, no one has that map anymore. You've become an enigma. Your silence now carries multiple meanings. It can mean peace. It can mean strategy. It can mean boundary. And it's exactly that uncertainty that makes people think twice before underestimating you. You created a space where your energy sets the rules, where your presence makes an impact without raising your voice. It's as if your aura were surrounded by layers no one can cross without earning it. And that's the difference. You're not inaccessible. You're selective. Anyone who wants to know more about you will have to deserve it. They'll have to come with pure intention, coherent energy, and aligned action. You're no longer the one who reacts fast. Now, you analyze, you observe, you think, and only then you act, with precision. That behavior intimidates those who live on autopilot, because you operate consciously, and that level of awareness exposes those still living shallowly in reaction. You understood that being mysterious isn't about hiding. It's about preserving. It's about not opening the door to those who only enter to create chaos. It's about protecting what you've built inside. You don't close off out of fear. You close off out of intelligence. And that's what no one can decipher anymore. This is your sixth weapon, intentional mystery. The absence of predictability. The clarity that doesn't need to be shown. The positioning that speaks louder than any speech. They can't decode you anymore because you're no longer operating in the old system. You're playing on another dimension. There comes a moment when your evolution stops being only yours. Without even trying, you start setting the rhythm of every space you enter. Your energy changes the dynamics. Your words, even few, carry more weight than long speeches. And without meaning to be an example, you become a reference. You became the standard. People start adjusting their tone around you. They speak more carefully. They act more attentively. Not because you demand it, but because your posture doesn't allow superficiality. Your presence imposes an invisible filter. Mediocrity feels uncomfortable. Chaos feels exposed. The fake realizes it can't perform the same way. You no longer need to take a stand all the time. Your gaze says it all. Your absence too. You don't argue. You withdraw. You don't beg. You observe. And the perceptive ones understand. This is the new standard of strength. The silent strength that doesn't scream, but defines the environment. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It comes from small daily choices. Choosing silence over provocation, peace over performance, purpose over approval. You started becoming different without announcing it. You rebuilt yourself from the inside until the outside couldn't hide it anymore. And the most powerful part of all this is that you're not trying to prove anything. You're not trying to be better than anyone. You just decided you will no longer be ruled by others' expectations. And that alone is a threat to those who live seeking validation. Because your authenticity exposes their falseness. You became the standard because you stopped chasing standards. You stopped imitating formulas. You created your own. And now those who ignored you observe. Those who judged you imitate. And those who underestimated you try to understand what changed. But what changed wasn't just you. It was the way you operate, and that can't be copied. Your evolution became energy. It's not measured in pretty phrases, but in respected boundaries. It's not shown in appearance, but in firm decisions. Now, you make an impact not through intensity, but through frequency. Those who don't adapt drift away. Those who do grow with you. You've become a mirror that requires truth to reflect. This is your seventh weapon, the level where your transformation starts to reconfigure everything around you. And even without meaning to, you become the new standard. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real, conscious, and unshakable. The time has come to recognize this. Your mind is no longer just a tool. It has become sacred territory, impenetrable to any system of manipulation. You no longer need to prove yourself. Your presence already alters the field. Your clarity is your protection, your silence, your response. And now, I want to hear from you. Comment below. Which part of this message activated something inside you? Which passage reflected exactly where you are in your journey? Your voice may be the awakening another chosen one needs to read today. Never underestimate the impact of your consciousness. You are not alone on this path. We're evolving together. See you in the comments.